Hi, my name is Sinora Allwood, and this is my fertility story. I first realized that I was having, or that we were experiencing fertility issues at an annual checkup at the gynecologist's office. They ask you, are your periods on time? Have you, experienced any difficulty with your menstruation? Those type of questions. And so I told her that I had a couple of late periods, which was irregular for me because I was used to getting my period like every 28 days, like clockwork. Also, I had gained a significant amount of weight from my last checkup. I think I was up almost 40 pounds at that point. And so she said, you know what? Let's see if you're experiencing polycystic ovarian syndrome. So she gave me a sonogram, and it did reveal that I had some extra follicles in my ovaries. But I only had 9 follicles in one ovary and 10 in the other. So technically I didn't have PCOS because to be diagnosed at the time anyways, you had to have over 12 follicles in each ovary. And so she said, you know what, are you also trying to conceive? And I said, yes. She said, how long have you guys been trying? And I said, for a while, since we got married. And we got married in 2010, and it was now 2012. And so she said, well, that's well over a year, and that actually means you're experiencing infertility. And so I was devastated. I don't even know if I received it or processed it when she said it. It's like it all kind of maybe set in later after the fact. That makes sense. Like I was numb, and so she said, but, on the bright side, you're not, technically you don't have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and, sonogram didn't reveal any other issues like blockage in my tubes or anything like that. So she said, I think that, you have to lose weight first and foremost. She's like, just lose weight and all your issues will go away. And so I'm like, just lose weight and everything goes away. Like, to hear that you're dealing with infertility and then someone tells you, it's your weight. It's like, okay, and yes, the weight is a contributing factor. In hindsight now, I know that in, having done research and stuff, but at the same time, it's not always the factor. So, it just hurt because I was trying to lose weight and I was having, some difficulty at the time. I had, what led to some of the weight gain was I was in school. I was working full-time, I was in school full-time in an accelerated program, working on my RN, and it was a lot of stress that I was under, and it all contributed to, my weight gain and my inability to lose it. And so I was trying everything, going to the gym, changing diet, all that stuff. And so in the meantime, between time, she said we can start what's called IUI, and we can use Clomid to help you. I started Clomid, and I was an emotional wreck. I was a basket case. And on top of that, it's so like time specific, and I also had to make sure I was ovulating, my temperature was right, and so like the romance was gone, and but we were trying, we did what we had to do, and lo and behold, no baby. We tried another cycle and no baby. So at that point, I said, you know what, there's got to be other contributing factors. Like, I think we should step it up and go see a fertility specialist. And so in doing so, they when we went for the visit, they looked over all of my preliminary results and were encouraged because there wasn't really any signs that there was something wrong per se. And then it was suggested that my husband go for a sperm analysis and get tested as well. And he went and he did it, even though he felt violated, but he did it. And we did discover that he had low motility, but it was still within the normal range. He was just like on the low side of the normal range, and they kind of want you like in the middle of the normal range. And so doctor recommended that, he not drink or smoke, and, try to not eat fried, greasy foods or junk food, clean up his diet and stuff. And so he did that, and about 2 weeks later, his sperm was perfect. And so now we still don't have a baby. And it was back on me. And so my fertility specialist recommended that I go and have a hysterocalcinogram. And that test is where you have a speculum inserted, and contrast dye, kind of similar to like a CAT scan, is injected into your uterus. And so during that test, the technician did discover that my cervix was closed slightly. And so he said he can go forward with the test, but it was going to be painful. And, but if I wanted to, he would attempt to perform the test. And so, of course, I wasn't going to stop. I got this far, but sidebar to anyone going to have a hysterocalcinogram, I recommend taking Tylenol maybe an hour before, or something, Motrin or something like that, or have it on standby. I did not know what I was in for, and I was in a lot of pain to the point where I screamed out as he was inserting the speculum. And so he was able to get in and inject the dye, which was great. And at that point, he was able to see that there was no tubal blockage or anything going on in my uterus. I didn't have fibroids. My ovaries were good at this point. Actually was able to expel some of the extra follicles. So everything was good. And, for me, at this point now, it was wearing on me. I had been through all this testing. My husband was good. And why is it that we can't have a baby? It's almost bringing me back there with those feelings, because I wasn't really talking to my friends about it, keeping it private. I remember even like when we would go to the fertility specialist, it was this clinic up in Hartsdale, New York, and it's like a standalone building, and I just kind of felt like every time I got out the car, like somebody knows that I'm going to get fertility treatment, like somebody knows I can't have a baby. And I felt like this shame, like, is it something I did wrong? Like, what is it? You know what I mean? And I'm questioning everything. I'm questioning God, and I did finally start to open up to, my mom and, my aunts and family and stuff. And they were all just like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you're going to be fine. One of my aunts said, just pray on it, and I'm like, I am praying. I pray day and night, like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I even went as far as bathing in holy water from the grotto. Like, I did everything that I could possibly do in terms of faith. I knew I had to keep believing, but it was like, no one really knew that I was suffering. Like this thing was killing me, and so I remember just feeling really alone, and one of my girlfriends called me, one of my closest friends, Colette, called, and she was inviting me to her baby shower, and we had gotten married like a couple years apart, and so I was so excited. And from there we began to talk about her journey, and she was like, for a moment I couldn't conceive. And I was like, oh my God, really? Like, I'm going through that right now, and I broke down because I finally found somebody like I could let it out to, like I had been holding all that alone for so long. And She's like, I started to just relax, went away with my husband, and she was like, I was doing hot yoga and, clean up my diet. And she's like, we got pregnant, So she's like, just hold on, like do whatever you gotta do, even if it's, IVF or whatever it is, like, just hold on because it's gonna happen, And so went back to the fertility doctor to get the results from all the testing and to determine if at that point we weren't able to conceive, then we were gonna go for IVF. And so we had been financially approved for the IVF. We received, it was covered. The procedure cost about 20 grand at that time, $20,000 at that time, and our co-insurance was $5,000. And so we were ready to go forward. And our doctor said, something? She said, something in my gut is telling me that this is not, like, something's not right here. She said, she's like, I find the problem, And she's like, something here, it's just not making sense. She said, I just think that you guys need to relax and reconnect, because I told y'all about the mechanical sex, you're taking your temp, you're tracking it with an app, you're tracking your ovulation with an app. Like, it's no romance in that, and we were stressed out because it's like, why can't we have a baby, And so she goes, it was about June at that point in time. She said, listen, can we just meet back in September and we'll reconvene at that point. And, if you still haven't conceived, we'll start IVF. And so I was kind of frustrated because I'm like, no, I'm ready now. Like I've waited long enough. You know what I mean? I think it was like 2 years, almost 3 years at this point. But then, I received what she was saying, and I thought about what Colette said in the back of my head about how, her and her husband took a trip and just relaxed, and they were able to do it. So, in the hot yoga. So I did take a vinyasa class, and it was excellent. And started doing some research about IVF and how to make it successful, because with it costing $20,000 and we had to pay $5,000 in the co-insurance, I wanted it to be one and done. So I found some forums and stuff, and a lot of people recommended doing a detox or a cleanse, some form of cleanse before doing the IVF, because it increases your chances of the IVF being successful. So I had reached out, to a couple people to see if they could point me in the direction of, how do I cleanse? What do I do? And so my auntie Charlotte, she called me one day and she goes, I know you said that you can't have a baby, but I don't know, I don't believe that. But listen, Selena just did a course in, homeopathic care, and maybe she can help you. She's holistic, a coach. So I said, oh, okay. So I called her, and I've known her all my life. She's a good family friend. And she said, I can help you, definitely. She said, but she said, why don't you go see my holistic doctor, because she said, I know he can, lead you through a cleanse. So I said, okay, great. So I went, scheduled an appointment immediately with Dr. Lynch. And the moment I met him, I think my healing began, because he said to me, what is the universal healing force? And I said, I don't know. And he goes, love, silly, love. And I was like, true. And he was like, listen, I don't want to hear that PCOS, schmemos. You don't have anything like that. He said, you're just all squiggly. That's like his favorite. So I said, okay. He said, you have got to get out some of these toxins. And, he was like, first of all, it's going to help you. It's going to help remedy, the late period stuff. And, and so I said, okay, I was with it, because all I'm focused on is baby, So I did a lot of tests with him as well. He looked at some other levels with my blood. Like he looked at my vitamin levels. He looked at allergens, things of that nature, anything that could have been contributing to me being out of whack. And so he recommended a 28-day cleanse, which I actually loved and felt so good that I kept going for 32 days. And by the end of the cleanse, consisted of basically a vegan diet, vegan and raw food diet, whereas about 80% of your foods had to be raw, 20% cooked, but all vegetables, no meat, no dairy, no grains. And so I did it, and it was, like I said, it was great. I actually kept going for 32 days, and at the end of the 32 days, I lost 38 pounds. And my cycle came and regulated. My cycle came 3 weeks into the cleanse, and it was full. Like, I could even tell the difference with the color of, like, it was beefy red, you know, and just I felt great energy through the roof. Like, I felt amazing. And I would say shortly after that, we conceived my son, Noah. And, you know, Andrew didn't clean out with me. My husband didn't clean out with me. But what he did do was eat everything that I was eating, you know, obviously, you know, because I was cooking and stuff. But I'm the main cook. But he kind of inadvertently cleaned out because he was eating really very clean. He was eating everything I was eating. So in a sense, we both cleaned out, and I know that that's why my son is here today. And that's my fertility story.